Today, we're going to talk about daydreams. So you may be letting go of the places where you were told to stop daydreaming. Or daydreaming is you shouldn't be doing that. And um, sometimes it's like daydreams are where you find the solutions. And as a daydreamer, guy, I think that so much of what we create and manifest starts there. So this would be an example of the answer to that question in the invocation. We will be, giving you the opportunity to let go of the places where daydreams have been limiting you. Or maybe you are an excessive daydreamer and maybe you do need some balance with daydreaming also. So with Reiki energy also comes with it that energy and frequency of discernment. So in the daydreams, you can be in that wandering, the childhood wonder, the daydreaming of ideas, the daydreaming of something with no agenda, agenda or no agenda to your daydream. And it can be really helpful. And so Reiki can come in and actually, allow you to be in that daydream and still have discernment around it. Because a lot of things, I think of, being an idea a minute, for instance. Like you can have ideas one after another, but they're not all meant to be manifest. So kind of sometimes what helps you move through those too. Or let's say the daydream has transitioned over into fear and the daydreams are fearful. So the Reiki energy can also help you with that. Sometimes the fear is valid. Like sometimes you need to be assessing your situation. So your imagination, your daydreaming, your thinking, your listening, letting Reiki come in and help you discern. Or is it a story you've gone into that, may or may not even be true? Something you're thinking about from 10 years ago, something you're thinking that might happen tomorrow or the next day or however, whatever. And so the energy of Reiki can help you recognize and have discernment around that as well, so that you can discern if your daydreams have taken you into kind of a fearful version of things. What's true? What do I need to listen for? And if it is true, what are my solutions? Right? So it's the thought process of kind of a conscious awareness, even as you are kind of unconsciously letting your mind wander. And then going back to what Marge was talking about, it is also possible for your daydreams to take you into all the positive thoughts of like, wonderful memories, future ideas. Curiosity would fit into daydreams, and curiosity is so important that we have curiosity. And so what we want to do today is, go into an invocation that does this healing work around the daydreams, and then also the empowerment and the revealing of the positive daydreams that you can have. So let's see. Are there certain chakras to work with if someone is daydreaming too much? Yes, you can have, somebody could have daydreams that happen too much. I don't know that you could specifically direct it to every person that has that to one chakra. I think it would be unique to each person, like where that's coming from. But also, again, one of the qualities of Reiki energy is practical discernment. The energy is life force. So what's practical in life force and what's practical in somebody's life? So in my experience with Reiki, when you go to what is the solution, that's where that practical will come in. So it's not only problem solving solutions, it's also solutions for innovation, solutions for just dreaming, solutions for literal physical manifestation. Sometimes the manifestations in the daydreaming are, daydreaming about being completely peaceful, that, or daydreaming about experiencing the awe of beauty that is here on the earth. And then other times it might be daydreaming about something that you want to, a goal you might want to achieve. It might be about something you want to manifest physically, maybe about an idea. You kind of want to toss the idea around. So sometimes you get an idea and you have to listen longer to make sure it's an idea that you want to move forward with. And then sometimes those ideas you just go, oh, that was really fun to think about, but I'm not actually going to take action with it. It's just a daydream, which is also really fun. So I looked up a couple things about daydreams, and let me get to what I actually pulled out. So the definition of a daydream is a series of pleasant thoughts that distract one's attention from the present, as in she was lost in a daydream. A series of pleasant thoughts that distract one's attention from the present. Yeah, I can do a little bit of that right now. Let's just go into some pleasant thoughts to distract my attention. Well, except right now, I'm really glad we're doing this. And then indulge in daydreams. So here's the flip side of that. Stop daydreaming and pay attention. I mean, I don't think I heard that a lot from my parents. I think they were pretty good with it because mainly I was outside playing, but I definitely got it in school. That was pretty prominent thing to hear. So that would be an area that for me, I want to let go of that. That is from somebody else's version. And then here's another thing that I wrote down that I really liked. Creative thinking is another function of daydreaming associated with increased creativity. So creative thinking is another function of daydreaming, and it is associated with increased creativity. When tackling unsolved problems, the most productive incubation periods in terms of creative solutions are those in undemanding conditions rather than attention demanding conditions. So, and then it goes on to say, thus it is reasonable to hypothesize that daydreaming plays an important role in generating creative problem-solving processes. So anyway, that's what we're going to do today, is go into the invocation and do the work around daydreaming, do the work, do the play, and do the receiving. Back to that, that we would also want to add, again, from what we've been talking about and really focused on last week, was the receiving. So allow yourself to receive that Reiki energy that then will bring in the discernment and daydreaming and imagination, opening to ideas, possibilities, productive thought, positive thought, daydreaming. Robyn, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. This whole month we've talked about manifestation and how, we use Reiki to help our manifestation. And one of the things that we talk about is just that this is a part of the place where manifestation starts, right? It can be outside of manifestation. Sometimes we just have daydreams. Sometimes we have things in our imagination that are just that, and it's just fun to daydream about. And then other times our daydreams and our imagination is part of what we want to manifest in our life. And that is where that starts, is within your daydreams and within your imagination. One of the things too that Colleen and I were talking about, before this, is I think so many of us right now are struggling a little bit with our imagination, with our daydreams. After the last few years, things have been quite a bit of change. Things have been, there is an energy of that feeling regimented in our way of life. And the divisiveness, I don't think, also helps with our daydreams and our imagination. And so coming back to that piece of ourselves a little bit. And I know also, as some people put in the chat, the childhood wonder, the imagination piece of that within the childhood wonder. I know if you are around children, you can see that pretty, instantly. Or if you have children, you can see that pretty instantly. It's interesting that we're talking about this because my 5-year-old Luna the other night was telling me about how she went to this like couple-hour camp last week, and she was telling me about this kid there who was talking about how they rode a rocket up into space and rode a rocket up into space and I don't know, can walk on the clouds, something like that. And it was interesting because my first kind of instinct was like, I don't think that actually happened. Because she's like, no, this actually happened. Like he can do that. And I was like, oh, I don't think that actually, that was my first like instinct. And then I thought, it doesn't matter if she thinks that this actually happened. Like, let her believe that she like thinks that this actually happens, and like going into her daydreams about what, walking on the clouds, and that this kid can take a rocket into the clouds. So it's just like those things that can kind of pop up. And when you're around children, also I know that there is a lot of and probably some of you are that there's this big movement of coming back to our playfulness. I have a friend from my corporate days that's what he's doing, is that he actually also kind of left the corporate lifestyle, and he leads play workshops, and actually leads play workshops for team building in corporate life now and all over. And just watching that journey and what he talks about when it comes to playfulness, and how healing playfulness can be, and how as adults we don't play a whole lot, and watching that. And I think, yeah, that's true. Like, I don't really play that much. Even though I have a kid, I play with her and I play, but I don't just like play for the sake of play. and how much that can kind of plug us back into, and that can include all sorts of things. It can include games, it can include, you know, playing tag, it can include, you know, depending on what's available to you and how you can do that. And how much that can lead to healing within our imagination, within our daydreams, and that piece of the childhood wonder that leads into all of this as well. And so I think that especially right now, this is a really big place that we kind of need to connect back into, that we need to, you know, do some healing around. I think it's, you know, I don't want to use the word like injured, but I can't think of my brain's not working completely 100% yet. So it's been a little bit hard to come by. There we go. That's a little bit over the last couple of years, and really connecting back into this piece of ourselves. And what does it mean to each of us? Because that's the other thing, is that what imagination and daydreaming means to Colleen is completely different than what imagination and daydreaming means to me. And that's okay. You know, that her daydreams are going to consist completely different of completely different things than what my daydreams mean. And what does that mean to us? And that there's that beauty in there. And on top of this, as we are connecting back into this parts of ourselves, like that also feeds out into the world, the energy, the you know, those frequencies, they kind of feed out into the world, into the people around us, into just that kind of higher vibration. And so if we can connect back into that, does that mean that others can connect back into that, and that playfulness, that imagination, that daydreaming? And also, you know, then moving through, if there's a daydream or imagination that we have, can we move into the pieces of manifestation with that? And we don't always have to. It doesn't always have to be a doing with daydreaming and imagination. Like with children, they don't always have a doing behind their play and their daydream, and you know, an agenda behind it, behind their daydreaming and their playing and their imagination. In fact, 90% of the time there isn't an agenda behind it. So we don't always have to have an agenda behind this, and that's okay as well. But then sometimes, you know, our daydreams can lead into that idea of what we want to manifest within our lives. And I see there's a lot of chats. I couldn't read any of it, so it's just so you all know. All right, Colleen, is there anything that you want to add before we go into? Yeah. Yeah, and Eileen, you know, I appreciate that comment about, you know, the Reiki energy with the we all have a lot going on right now. You know, we're continually, I know you all know that Colleen and I have a lot going on, and we're not the only ones. We're right now, we're having a lot of emails, we're having a lot of chats and messages and all of that we have a lot going on. And sometimes that's the hardest time to connect in with that. And that's okay that we go through cycles of it, when it's more available to us and it's less available to us. And in fact, to be honest, like Colleen and I were laughing about that a little bit this morning, about, you know, when you have a lot in your world, like daydreaming and imagination can be a challenge, and it can be harder to come by. And that's okay, because when we wrote out, like, you know, what we were kind of going to be talking about this month, we were in a lot different place than we are today. And we were complete transparency. We were kind of giggling about it this morning, like daydreaming, like I don't even know what that means right now, between her being so sick and me having, you know, this whole thing happening this last couple months with being sick, and that's okay. You know, we were able to kind of laugh about it, and know that, okay, we'll still do the healing work. We'll still go into this through Reiki, It's beautiful. Some of you are in a completely different cycle where this part feels very easy for you, and like, oh my gosh, yes, I can go into my imagination and my daydreams, and that's beautiful too. And that we can know, on the other side of this, that it's there for us, and that we can continue to go into it. And maybe that I always think that things like this are divinely timed and divinely ordered. um, and so there's healing within this for both of us today. I am sure of it. And the invocation or kind of journey that we're about to go into too.